Welcome to the Alabama A&M Basketball Review. Highlights, features, and analysis with men's head coach Otis Hughley Jr. and women's head coach Margaret Richards. And now, our host, Mr. Ted Dixon.
Good evening and welcome to the Alabama A&M Basketball Review with head coaches Margaret Richards of the women and Otis Hughley of the men, of course. This is Coach Richards to my left. Coach, the first thing we've got to say is we treat this as a preseason show, if you will. The expectations of competition in the Southwestern Athletic Conference are heavy on your team's shoulders this year.
It really is. We scheduled a tough preseason schedule for a reason because our conference is legit. It is competitive. It's aggressive.
Definitely.
We have a lot of transfers, a lot of talented young ladies, high school young ladies as well. And our SWAC teams have been representing, so that is important for me to get my young ladies ready for January 6th, which we open up our first SWAC game.
Now, playing a tough out-of-conference schedule tells you what about your team and gets your team ready for what in the SWAC?
Well, it tells me a lot, and it helps us out as a staff what we need to work on in practice, you know, because fundamentals is huge for me. Being able to play inside out, you know, just being able to clean up some things and going back, watching film, reevaluating this may work for us, this may not work for us. And I love this tough competition because you have to, you know, see who's tough and who's ready to step up when them lights come on.
You are the dean of the coaches here at Alabama A&M University. You have played well. You've had your student athletes playing well, I should say. I can remember the first time you won you got into the tournament.
Got into it, yeah.
And it's just so common now. We expect when the Bulldogs women's team rolls out, that you're going to the conference tournament.
Well, that's what we like to have. You know, we like to be confident, and that's why we work hard in the summer and the spring to prepare for things like the SWAC tournament, you know. So that's a number one thing. We looking to advance. That's our goal, to advance.
What did you learn about the travel issues from last season?
You know, I try not to focus on that because,
Okay.
you know, everybody have to travel.
Okay.
You know, so for me, I just try to focus on things I can control.
Okay.
You got to travel anyway. You know, so I just want to give my team, I don't want to give them no excuses, no room for anything. So I try to focus on what we can control so we can go out and do it and perform.
Amen to that. Now, Coach, since this is the preseason show, we're treating it like that, folks. Talk to us about how the transfer portal has affected your ability to recruit, as well as you mentioned high school student athletes. Coach Hughley said high schoolers have been looked away from. Tell us about that, Coach. Give us your experience.
Well, you know, it is tough. I think even when I got into this conference, I've always liked high school students. So I had to kind of adjust myself as a coach because for me, I like to develop, I like to teach, and I like to do all of that thing. And I like continuity, you know, as far as growing your team together, team chemistry, building them up.
Right.
But the SWAC has always been for the transfers. So as I'm evaluating myself as a coach and me and the staff, and I'm like, oh, the teams that's winning got a roster full of transfers. So we have to get with the, you know, we got to step our game up. We got to kind of make some adjustments. So I haven't completely went away from high school student athletes because I always still want to build them up,
Right.
you know, get them in because we do have some talented high school you know, student athletes out there.
Right.
But the transfer portal has definitely changed the perimeter of a lot of different areas of our game. And you can just see it in women's basketball, period. You know, a lot of teams now, even a lot of mid-majors are competing with these Power Fives and beating these Power Five teams.
Right.
You know, even in the
SWAC
SWAC
being one.
Yes. You know, shout out to Grambling State beating a Pac-12
Right.
Arizona State team.
There you go.
Jackson State beating
you
Big
go.
East St. John's.
Right.
And Pine Bluff beating SMU American team.
There you
So,
go.
you know, we have, and with those transfers, you can do a lot of different things because it evens out the level of the playing field.
And so in that evening out, though, Coach, and when you just talked about the continuity part, I find it at some point mixing people up every year has to bring some kind of challenge that you don't foresee.
It is definitely challenging. I will be sitting here telling the tale if I didn't tell you that it was. So we just try to think of different ways we can do team bonding, different team activities, do some different things, because that is very, very important, because when you are mixing and matching these different personalities, these different backgrounds, and transfers, freshmen, JUCO, it can be challenging because we got a lot of different mixes and, different personalities.
Terminology becomes a problem?
Oh, yes, because different places did things differently. Well, Coach, we forced middle at my last school. Well, we're going to force baseline here. So, yes. So we got to adjust to some things. And I'm very particular and structured when it comes to that, because I like a disciplined team, and I like for us to do things the right way. And I think fundamentals and playing hard will win you ball games.
And of course, prolonged success does as well. Now, on the other side, you have been, I would say, you've had to adjust after one of your student athletes who you developed go somewhere else.
Yes.
Is that a fear you walk around with, or you just do your job?
Well, I just do my job. I knew it was probably a slim chance because she was so talented, and she did some great things here and put us in on a different level, and was well respected and got this program to where it needed to be, where it was respected, once she left. But I think once you get one of those players, it's just really hard, because you got a lot of tampering going on, and a lot of people in these kids' ears. Social media is a big thing, and now that we promote our athletes differently, and
that's right.
The cost of attendance, it's a lot of the NIL deals. It's a lot of different things and areas that you are competing with. Us as coaches, we're not just saying, oh, we got this big, beautiful locker room anymore. It's a lot of different variables that goes into recruiting in a different dynamic. So I just try to recruit my kids while they're here, along as recruit the next class, because you cannot get too comfortable.
So you walk out of a game, we win, Bulldogs win it, and you're on the telephone.
Yes, sir. And I'm still petting my team within on the back and sending text messages, individual meetings, because again, you have to recruit your own team throughout the year as well.
Oh, wow. That's something I had no idea even think about.
Oh, absolutely. Times have changed.
Now, the Bulldogs' next opportunity is December 10th.
Yes.
You'll see the QR codes at the bottom of the screen to let you know about how to get tickets to be here. It used to be, Coach, people came to the women's game so they'd have a seat over at Elmore for the men's game. But now we got to be the women's game because the women get down.
Well, I'm excited about that. I love the atmosphere and the environment and how we are trying to continue to change this culture. We look forward to playing a very talented South Carolina State team on Sunday. Their record does not, indicate how talented they are. They are well coached by Coach Eatman. So we're excited about that. We're just preparing the girls right now as we speak.
And of course, then you're going on the road, Coach, and this is what got me. You have to pack to go to Chicago to play Chicago State, and then turn around and go to Florida International.
Well, no, we got to pack to go play UMKC for the Kansas City.
Okay.
And then we got to go pack and play in the tournament at FIU. Yes, and we play Chicago at FIU.
So it's 2 cold games and 1 warm game.
No,
that's a lot of luggage.
No, you got that right. Yeah, 1 cold game, but actually we'll spend most of our time in Miami, so it'll be good. So it's the opposite.
Now, tell me what your pre-conference schedule does for you in recruiting, since we're talking recruiting.
Oh, it's very important. And one thing I always promise my young ladies, we got a lot of people from all over the country on our roster.
Right.
Texas, Kansas, Indianapolis, Ohio. So what I always promise them is that you come here and play for me, we are going to get you back home. So we have 2 young ladies that, of course, this from the Kansas City area. So it's just very important for me. And I always try to make my promise. And I always tell them that, we like to go coast to coast. We got kids from California, Florida. So we'll be visiting those areas. I know the young ladies love, the beach in Florida. And
who doesn't love paradise?
That's right. So that's very important. That's one thing I try to stick to. My word is bond, and my word is good. And when I tell my young ladies, like, hey, I know it's a long way from home, but I promise you, I'm gonna get you back home.
And doing that, Coach, and completing your promises to everyone, what do you look forward to most when the season starts, and then the conference season starts? What do you look forward to?
Growth. It's very important. I look forward to growth because that helped me as a leader to continue to lead and restructure this program as much as possible, and for me to get better. So what I look forward to is how my team is growing. how they growing in a non-conference, in spring, summer, non-conference, conference season, the first half, second half, and then that new season when you go to that conference tournament. So I look forward to growth.
So, Coach, before we close your interview segment out, I need you to look right in that camera.
Yes.
And get the Bulldog faithful hyped for the game on December 10th against South Carolina State.
You would not want to miss it. December 10th, it is going down here at the Event Center at 2 p.m. So be there. And I want to hear you cheering loud. Go Bulldogs.
And before we leave, we also have to give a big shout out to the elementary school children that came to that 11 o'clock basketball game. I thought trying to get in here to film this show, the bus line was all the way over at Lewis Cruz Stadium. Great job, Coach.
Thank you. And we were so excited. And thank you so much to those schools that came out to support us. We reached out and you guys came through. We truly appreciate that. And we look forward to doing that for you each and every year.
And also a big shout out to the Marching Maroon and White. After leading the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, finishing that up, getting on a bus, and getting back here for an 11 o'clock basketball game.
Mr. Wright, you A1, and those band players and those young men and women, thank you so much for your support. We couldn't do it without you. We couldn't be undefeated at home without you. Continue to support us. We love you, and we are so grateful and thankful.
And now, folks, when we come back on the Alabama A&M Basketball Review, you'll have a great look at some highlights. And then, of course, we'll have our interview with Coach Hughley next on the Alabama A&M Basketball Review with head coach Margaret Richards.
Parker is 29 and learning to communicate again. The students teaching him earn a degree with 100% job placement. But the real reward is changing a life. At Alabama A&M, it's a university where agencies actually go to recruit compassionate students who help themselves by helping others. Service is sovereignty at Alabama A&M University. Start here, go anywhere.
Welcome back, and thank you for watching the Alabama A&M Basketball Review with head coach Otis Hughley to my left. Coach Hughley, we'll treat this a little bit like it's a preseason show. What about the tough out-of-conference preseason schedule helps you with the SWAC schedule?
It's real necessary. The SWAC is probably better than it has been since its inception, and it's getting better by the year. And if you don't prepare for it, you can have a good team but not show well. So it's real important to play these these games early to find out who you are, take inventory, and be battle tested, very well battle tested, so you can really be at least starting on par with everyone else.
Okay. So is that the incremental things, like if you talked about running out of bounds plays or kids knowing what play to run when it's called?
Well, you would liken this really to our first year, because these are all the kids that I recruited. There's a few left, but not many. The majority of this team is the team that came in with me, and a lot of them are young. And when they're young, man, they have to be, by necessity, battle tested. You got to find out who they are, what they are, and allow them to make mistakes. And what better way to do it than have them play on the road, play it in real hostile environments, and play against teams that you could have a chance to beat, but it's not so skewed where it's a money game where they're just going to pay you to whoop you.
Everybody on their front line 6'10".
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. We don't play, but very few of those guys. We played Auburn and we played Vandy, and now we got Georgia Tech in Georgia. So 2 of those games we have a chance to really be in and maybe surprise them, and the other 2 is going to be real tough, and they have been. Auburn was a tough one.
One thing that is not really talked about in the Southwest Athletic Conference is your ability to use your schedule as a recruiting tool.
Right, and that's another caveat. As you go out there and try to recruit these kids, you know, in the old days, it used to be the arena. It used to be the type of uniform you wore and who you played. Now it's free agency. It's NIL. If you don't have money to get these kids to move the needle, you're just going to attract more of the same kids that you've been doing in the past, and you got to develop them. So the best way to do it, since high school kids have been marginalized by the portal, you go after some of the better kids who usually get recruited by the Power Fives, but now are left, out in the cold. You go after those kids and you develop them, but you're gonna have to wait a year or 2.
So when you go into the basketball version of the transfer portal, that's different from football, because I've seen basketball student athletes practicing in the summer and the fall. When can you actually get them on campus?
Well, we like to get them in the summer. There's very few that you can, because basketball is probably the only sport that goes 2 semesters. You play part of it in the fall, and you play part of it in your championships in the winter, spring. So it's really tough to get a kid mid-season, because he's not going to be able to play. And if you get him mid-season, then why are you getting him mid-season? A whole other host of questions you got to answer and be okay with the conclusion you drew. It's better to get them in the summer and have them that whole summer, get them oriented, and then at that point, you just, you wait to see what happens.
I've noticed some of your new student athletes, I don't know if they're freshmen or not, Coach, I just talked to them at practice, but they played a lot of the competitive AAU basketball circuits. How are you able to get into that arena, if you will?
Because of the portal. See, I'm coming on the backside of it. The front end is get out front of it, find guys in the portal, try to pay them, which is always a shaky situation. You pay for something that looks really good when you get it home, that may not fit, may not serve you well. Until it's here, until you try it on, until you're wearing it, you don't know what it really is. So it's a big chance. But you can get a high school kid, develop him. Don't develop him too soon, because if you develop him too soon,
he's gone.
He's gone. He's Elvis. He left the building. So, like, yo, son.
Right.
What's going on, man? We did everything to get you right. And it's okay. We'll use that as a recruiting tool. You could come here, start here, and go anywhere.
All right.
So either way it happens, we're ready for it. I think the way to go is through the young kid, develop them, orient to your culture, and then let that kid be homegrown.
And speaking of homegrown kids, Coach, what about the competitiveness that you see or you find Alabama basketball to be like?
Well, there's a sentiment here locally that we may not recruit local kids. No, what happens locally is the very best, the cream of the crop, they all go somewhere else. They don't want to stay home. And so the local crowd and the local student athlete, they want us to take the kids that nobody else want to recruit. We're still trying to win too.
You're trying to keep a job.
That's right. Well, in layman's term, you would say that, but man, if God wants me here, Ain't nothing nobody can do about it. If God doesn't want me here, ain't nothing nobody can do about it.
Right on.
So I could really focus on the main thing, be the main thing. What President Williams hired me for is to develop these student athletes to start here and be able to go anywhere in their life. Basketball is just a vehicle to do that. And we get really excited about trying to do it.
Coach, I can look in the national magazines and see Alabama A&M University, and sometimes they'll try to describe the team. It might say motion offense or zone kind of thing. Well, how would you describe your team?
Well, a team usually adapts the personality of the coach and how he wants to play, his philosophy. I typically want to play fast all the time. And every now and then down the stretch when we got to execute in the half court, we'll play medium to slow. But with EJ and Will, with some of the big guys, we can't play fast. So we have to augment the offense to fit their skill sets. And that's why you see us play slow, medium, and fast. Because when they're not on the floor, we can sort of speed the game up.
Right.
And then you have to tailor it to who you're playing. You don't want to play fast with offense. That's what they want to do.
Right.
You don't want to play fast with talented teams that want to run. You got to milk those possessions and use the clock as much as possible and give them as few possessions as possible.
Would you say that philosophy comes from your experience being in the NBA?
Well, probably.
And also world stage basketball. Let me not limit you to America.
Yeah, we've grabbed it from almost 4 to 5 continents, and you just learn as you go. You learn a lot when you lose, but I learn way more when I win.
Tell me about that.
Well, most people don't correct anything when they win. But what winning does, it hides all your flaws. It makes people, not even pay attention to the shortcomings because you're so excited about winning and you're on to the next game to try to repeat it. No, if you correct mistakes as much when you win as you lose, maybe you won't lose so much.
Winning is the deodorant that covers up all stink, so to speak.
Yeah.
Now, next up for you, Coach, as you talk about finishing out the semester, fall 2023, and then getting ready for the winter, what are you always concerned about when kids leave campus for an extended period of time?
Well, just their conditioning and mindset. But it has its pros, too. They get to take their mind off it so it doesn't get stale. They get a chance to reevaluate, why they're here. They go home and their family reminds them how excited and proud they are, and then they come back with a new energy.
That's a thought.
Yeah, so it's always good to allow them to go back and to reevaluate why they're here. And you'll tell right away when they get back they're ready to go.
And then now, Coach, our final question of the night. Maybe your opinion. Southwestern Athletic Conference is super competitive in basketball, as you just mentioned. The last few years, we've noticed that guard play has become completely more important than anyone could ever imagine in this conference. To combat that, you went out and recruited some very talented student athletes, but to stop that kind of basketball play against you being successful, what do you really have to do?
Well, we just need time because our kids are young. We're playing 2 freshmen and a couple of sophomores and got 10 new players. And that's not going to happen overnight. You can't skip any steps in the process. It's because, everybody else has been at this for a while.
That's right.
And the guy at Grambling who's really knocking on the door hard, he hadn't won but 1 game, maybe 2. And he just got a, extension, and this is what, 6th year?
Okay.
And then you got my man at Texas Southern who's won it several times. I don't think he's won any games. But he understands you got to get your kids battle tested and prepared. So this conference is tough, and you go as far as your guards will take you. Is what you were speaking to. And our guards are learning how to do that now. But until they go through a tournament cycle,
that's right.
They're not going to really have firsthand information. And right now, we're trying to do as best we can to get them as far as they can on that road to being ready.
And then I said one last question, folks, but the real last question, Coach, it's not even a question then, so I'm still on track. Coach, I need you to get the Bulldog faithful ready so when they come to the event center, the jewel of North Alabama, and see Alabama A&M men's basketball, what they can expect.
Hey, come, bring your family. It's an exciting, entertaining, high-level basketball full of energy, an environment that you're going to want to return to every single opportunity. Go Bulldogs.
Go Bulldogs. Again, thank you for watching the Alabama A&M Basketball Review with head coach Margaret Richards and my man from Jersey, son, men's head coach Otis Hughley. Good night. Service is sovereignty.
Daryl brings new energy to the power plant. Julian's accounting is by the numbers. They're student interns from the College of Business and Public Affairs at Alabama A&M University, where marketing class connects with the community and companies come to recruit. So while Kyle strengthens his managerial skills, he's earning a business degree and experience at Alabama A&M University. Start here, go anywhere.
They do that at 7. Hey, let's go. Let's get started. We don't have a lot of time.
Thank you for watching the Alabama A&M Basketball Review with women's head coach Margaret Richards and men's head coach Otis Hughley. The next time the women will take the court here at the Event Center in Alabama A&M University's campus will be December 29th against Central Arkansas. That tip-off is at 2:00 p.m. The men will give you an opportunity on December 13th when UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham, when the Blazers come to town to get blazed by the Bulldogs. That tip-off is at 7:00 p.m. Hey, listen, anytime you want to know anything about Alabama A&M sports, athletics, go to AAMUsports.com, AAMUsports.com, and then pick on the sport that you're interested in. And also, please pay attention to the QR codes at the bottom of the screen where you can get information and purchase your tickets. Service is sovereignty. Thank you for watching. Good night.